Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
My name is Jon Romer. My wife Sandy and I have lived here on Lake Kitchie for some 21 years. I'd like to play a beautiful Ojibwe love song that's especially appropriate to this time of the year. I'm happy to share the things that have been shared with me by elders, knowledgeable Native American flute players, and others about the flute. So I'm sharing information that's been shared with me. The flutes that you see are they're really wonderful flutes. The Ojibwe flutes are 6-hole flutes. Lakota flutes are 5-hole. The flutes that I have, of course, are Ojibwe flutes, and my teacher, Wendy Downwind from Red Lake, is the person who I worked with at Buganagijic School, and he put me on the path of learning to play the flutes. The unique thing about these flutes, I think, visually first, is how that the flute maker, the artist, has captured the pattern of the light and dark grain in the cedar that has become part of the structure, part of the visual beauty, the aesthetic beauty of the flutes. The largest flute in the center is a low C, so that plays the middle C on the piano. The one adjacent to it is a D flute, and the next one over is an E, and so on. And the pitch, or the key of the flute, is determined by the volume of the vibrating column of air within the tube. The essential parts of the flute is an air chamber in here, so as one blows the air into this end, there's a hole under this block, or the bird as it's called sometimes, and the air comes up this hole, shoots across a space under the block, and splits on a wedge in front of the block. Some of the air goes up and away, and the rest of the air goes down into the length of the flute proper, and then by shortening and lengthening the column of vibrating air, one creates the different pitches. It's really like a pipe on a pipe organ, and in fact Carlos Nakai talks about on page 3 of his book, The Art of the Native American Flute, that the pipe organ is really a collection of Native American flutes. And in the course of the pipe organ, of course, there are no holes in the pipe, so each pipe can produce one pitch. This produces many. Another very interesting aspect to the block, or the bird, is that when the flute is used as a chording instrument, the flute maker, the young man who makes the flute, may carve his clan symbol there. And then, just as in broad American modern society, as I've been told, people are not supposed to marry their cousins. The tradition in Native American culture is that one married or marries someone in another clan, in which case the other clan symbol could be burned in or carved on another part of the flute. And I think that's really precious because it celebrates both of those ancestral lines. So the clan symbol is important in the culture, and it's absolutely necessary for the flute to sound. This is hand carved by Odell Borg, who is a fine flute maker. I have flutes from 3 or 4 other flute makers on the table here. The other unique thing about the symbolism on the flute with regard to the holes, my teacher told me whenever I'm talking about the flutes to make sure that I mention that the top hole represents the Creator, the second hole represents the Earth Mother, and the bottom 4 holes represent the 4 directions. The flute's voice is unique. Flute makers traditionally keep the sound of the wind as it blew through the pine forest across the branch before it became a flute. And so when one plays the flute, you also hear nature's breath, nature's sound as a part of the tone quality. It's so good to be able to play out here today. The flute makes a beautiful, beautiful sound. I'd like to play an Ojibwe farewell song. And this song was a song that would have been sung by Ojibwe women as the men would leave the village to go hunting. The expectation would be that they would be successful and bring home game. Everyone would sit down to a wonderful feast together. And in Ojibwe, I've been told, there's no word for a final goodbye. The phrase is translated to be, I will see you again another day. So this is a happy goodbye song, just a temporary goodbye. And here's that song.
If you enjoyed this segment of Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground, consider making a contribution at lptv.org. If you have segment ideas pertaining to North Central Minnesota, contact us at legacy@lptv.org. Common Ground is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund by the vote of the people on November 4th, 2008.